Welcome back to the most sensational hockey channel in all of YouTube. Welcome back to the O Hockey Show. Today I'm once again throwing my hat into the ring and predicting all the divisions, and I am here for the last one before I get to the playoffs. The Pacific, the arguably worst team in the division in the whole league. Now, I'm going to go over these teams, all 8 of them, as you cannot see the numbers, and I'm going to give my opinion, my take, my thoughts on who is going to take the grand prize and who's going to be so far below. So let's start off with number 8. The San Jose Sharks. My boys, my team is going to be absolutely once again terrible this year. But I will say that this has been the hardest rankings to make out of all of them so far, because there's so many questions. When it comes to the 4 bottom teams, 4 down is what I should say, it was so hard. Because all of these teams here could have a case for saying, well, they could break out, or this team could be really bad, or this team could be really mediocre. And the Sharks, I feel like, are the easiest one for me to knock down because they're my favorite team and I'm the most critical of them. They're the team I'm most critical of out of all of them, so it's easy for me to say that they're going to be the worst than it is to say that I can think that they're going to be the best. All the teams above, because at the same time, I think about it, and they have like Ryan Merkley, they have William Eklund coming up. They've got some good young guys coming up that could make a difference, and it seems like our GM now, Gruyere, seems like he's going to try to make this a winning team with the moves to get Luke Kunin, I really like Luke Kunin, I always have. So it's interesting to me It's interesting to say because for the same time at the Sharks, they still have Hurdle and Meyer and Couture. And Erik Karlsson, if he could. I mean, just imagine if Erik Karlsson comes back to form. Then what happens? We've got 2 goaltenders in net that could really steal a game. Reimer's been known to do it. Optimus Rhymes, he's back with the team. And the Kapokakinen. They've got some good guys in net and all around. So really, it's just about if the team can come together. I could easily see them up here. But I really think that they probably won't be all the way up here, and it's easiest for me to say they're going to be bottom. And also, the teams above them are better, in my opinion, including the number 7 team. The number 7 team, the Anaheim Ducks. So, the Mighty Ducks of old are at number 7, and it was so hard for me to put them there. Because they've got so many guys. Like, they got Zegras and Drysdale. They got McTavish coming up, who's going to be phenomenal. They just got John Klingberg. This team, to me, should be up here, and I really wanted to. But in just looking at how they were actually last year, being second to last in the division behind the Seattle Kraken, to me, they haven't really done enough other than the fact that they got John Klingberg. And I don't think he's going to do a whole lot to really boost them up. And I feel like the other teams ahead of them, other than the one right in front of them at 6, I just feel like they have done better and they already were better, that I don't think the Ducks are going to surpass them. But if guys like Zegras and Drysdale and all these guys can come together and can really put on a show like they can, then I would say, but they also lost Getzlaf this offseason too. So for me, this team, if they brought in like Nazem Kadri, who I said is who they should go after, I think Kadri, Kessel, and Klingberg, one of the Ks, I think would be a perfect combination for this team to make them stellar. They've only got one of them, and I can easily, I really wanted to put them at 4, to be honest. But I just couldn't really convince myself that from their terrible season last year that they've done enough to turn things around for the better. And I think the team in front of them at number 6, the Vancouver Canucks. That actually worked. So to me, the Vancouver Canucks are really, I don't want to say struggling team, but they're a team that's really putting me through not quite sure what's wrong with them. Because they have names like they have Brock Besser, they have Elias Peterson, whatever, Bo Horvat. They have a 99 points guy, top 10 points in the league last year, JT Miller, and they're talking about trading him away. So it's just so weird to me how this team could also not make it to the playoffs last year when teams in front of them like the LA Kings did. So for me, they didn't do anything to make things better, and in fact, I feel like things are probably going to get worse before they do get better. They didn't bring anything in to change what they're doing. And also they're talking about getting rid of certain players. So really, realistically, if they get rid of JT Miller and everyone has the same season they had this year, this team's, I wouldn't be surprised if they're in Sharks territory, because they are so confusing to me. But it's so hard to convince myself that someone like Brock Besser, Elias Peterson, Bo Horvat, these guys Connor Garland aren't going to play at least decent enough to get to 6. But if they trade away some of those guys like Garland and JT Miller, then I don't know what's going on. I don't understand these teams sometimes. Why do they trade away guys like JT Miller? It doesn't make any sense to me. But anyways, at number 5, we've got the Seattle Kraken. So the Kraken to me have done a lot, and I think their young guys and their couple guys that they've brought in are really going to change the way this team plays. For me, Andre Burakovsky and Oliver Bjorkstrand, along with Shane Wright and Matty Beniers, are going to probably... I don't know if Shane Wright's going to play this year. I think he would. I think he can make the NHL squad. But for me, that whole lineup altogether is at least 5th place worthy in my mind. They already had a decent core, decent. They had a going core. They had a good foundation. They had a good building blocks. They just have to add to it. And Matty Beniers, Shane Wright, Oliver Bjorkstrand, and Andre Burakovsky, those 4 guys are going to add skill, speed, shooting. They're going to add everything that this lineup needs, like I said, those building blocks, to at least get to 5th. Now, that is good enough to maybe be in a wild card position, but I don't think they get into the wild card. I don't think the Kraken are there. I think teams like the Minnesota Wild, I think teams like the team right in front of them are better than them to probably get to a playoff spot than them. I think they're right on the cusp, though. I think this offseason, they should, or during this season, if they could trade away one of their goalies like Drieger to a needing of a goalie team, and they can bring in like a good defenseman, I would say this team is maybe playoff eligible, but I don't really see... I think this team needs one more season, and then they can be up here next year, especially with like what Calgary's going to go through and stuff. So I think they're good at number 5. At number 4, we've got the LA Kings. Now, the LA Kings made it to the playoffs last year, and my most hated video I've made, and I really wanted to just be fun and put them all the way down here to make everyone mad, but I didn't. I don't really actually believe this pick. I don't think they'll get 4th. I really, truly believe that a team like the Anaheim Ducks or the Kraken are going to steal a playoff spot. The Kraken could have their first real run. The Ducks could have some guys step up and play some real time. The Canucks could even have their guys return to form, and they could have a playoff run. The Kings, to me, are just the ones that nothing really changed from last year, and last year things worked. So I had no real reason to knock them down other than the fact that I don't like them and I don't believe in them. But if they were able to do it last year, and they're guys that are coming up, like Byfield, Kempe, Velarde, all these young guys coming up, and Lazat, whoever else, Sean Dursey, like these guys are growing still. So for me, my problem is like they're guys like Doughty, Quick, and Kopitar getting old, but they still are playing at least good enough, and they haven't shown any signs of declining. So I have no real reason to believe they won't be good this season, at least good enough for 4th. I don't think they're up here in the top 3, which, starting us off in the top 3 for a for sure playoff spot, you can already tell by the colors, it's the Calgary Flames that I just wiped a C off of. So the Calgary Flames are going to make it to the playoffs this year. Bringing in Jonathan Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar is such a huge trade for them that they've added a great defenseman to a defense that needed something like a Mackenzie Weegar. And also, they lose Matthew Tkachuk and Gaudreau. And I think that really knocks them down because they were up here. They were at the number 1 spot this last season. So they've lost a lot. But to me, this team really needed to shake things up. And to be honest, I don't really know how Huberdeau's going to do in this atmosphere. I mean, he was in top 3 points last season. So he's probably going to be pretty phenomenal there as well. But I don't really think he's going to get back to 115 points like he did on Florida. I think with Lindholm and Toffoli, he's not going to get that good as he did there. It's just interesting to me. The Flames are going to make it to the playoffs. They have all the pieces together, and I think their problem the last few years with Tkachuk, Lindholm, Monahan, well, sort of, and Gaudreau just wasn't cutting it. I don't think that core was cutting it for them. I don't think they were going to win with that core, and I think they needed to shake things up. I know they didn't really want to get rid of Tkachuk, but they had to. So I think this is really a blessing in disguise for them. Now, what happens after this year, needing to resign Huberdeau and Weegar, I don't know. I don't really know where they're going to go from here. But at least for this season, I can see them at number 3. At number 2, we've got the Vegas Golden Knights. Right there. The Golden Knights are going to come back into form. Hopefully. The thing about it is that no one could predict what happened last year because there were so many injuries to the team, and they actually got to trade for Jack Eichel, and he took so long to come back, and their second best player, Mark Stone, couldn't play. There was just a lot of, what happened? I mean, imagine if, the Capitals lost Alex Ovechkin. I know Mark Stone and Ovechkin aren't the same, but you get the comparison there. That's a huge blow to a team. Now, at the same time for the Golden Knights, I can easily see them also ending up down here where the Kraken are. This is the hardest division for me to rank. Because really, I could have rewritten this board, and I could have put the Vegas Golden Knights here, I could have put the Kings down here, I could have put the Ducks up here, and the Kraken, to be in full honesty. But I didn't, and I think the Knights, with a fully healthy roster, now this is with a healthy roster, I think with Jack Eichel, Mark Stone, I feel if Eichel pairs well with someone, if you pair him with William Karlsson or Riley Smith, so you could get those guys' numbers back up. Now, they did lose Max Pacioretty, which is kind of concerning, and, I mean, considering Jack Eichel and his injury and the curse that I don't believe in, I don't know. I feel like and Robin Lehner's out, so I don't know. This was the hardest division for me to make, because every time I would tell myself, "Oh, the Vegas should be down here," but it's like, well, should they put the Kraken above them? Probably not, but I could totally see the Kraken being in their spot. And at number 1 is the Edmonton Oilers. The only team that I feel confident in is the Edmonton Oilers. Now, I have always been the biggest critic of the Edmonton Oilers. I've never believed in them. I've never thought they were going to succeed with McDavid and Draisaitl with their contracts and stuff. I thought they were just always going to just use them, and they were going to be the team. Well, they have finally found some decent players to put together and put on an actual lineup on the ice. Because McDavid can win you games by himself, but when he's not on the ice, that's where things go wrong. Now, and the biggest problem was on defense. Defense is still a huge problem for this team. I think with Darnell Nurse's contract, which is, in my opinion, probably at least the top 3 worst contract in the league, it is kind of a problem. But with Broberg, Barry, and Bouchard, I think those 3 guys, I think that's going to be great. Their defense is fine. Their offense is incredible, and they finally added a goaltender. They've needed a goaltender. They had Mike Smith and Mikko Koskinen for the last few years. It hasn't worked, and they finally have found a goaltender in Jack Campbell. Now, Jack Campbell, of course, can be squirrely, but from the little sample size that we've got, and I hate putting stock into one-time good seasons because there's so many of those. Kadri, Shesterkin, what the hell is the guy's name? Jack Campbell. These guys play for one season play a few games really incredibly, and they're labeled as like pretty good goaltenders. And I just don't believe it. I think Jack Campbell had a really good showing against the Lightning, but at the same time, he couldn't shut them down, and also he had a pretty okay season. Actually, pretty abysmal halfway through. So, I think the Oilers have enough to make it to the top, especially with what's going on below them and how uncertain I am about them. But they have Patrick Kane. They have Evander Kane. They've got Hyman. They've got Nugent Hopkins. Like, they've got good forwards, and they have some decent guys sprinkled in the bottom six to keep them in competition. I think this team's going to do it. I think they could add a little bit more spice to their defense, and they're completely solidified right there. But that is what I have to say about the Pacific Division. We'd have the Knights versus the Flames, and we'd have the Oilers potentially against the Kings or the Wild, depending on how I organize it. But that is all I have to say about the Pacific Division. I have the San Jose Sharks because I'm the most cynical of them, and I don't see them doing very good. The Anaheim Ducks at 7 because I'm not really sure why. The Vancouver Canucks because I just don't think they're going to get any better. The Kraken because they did get better at number 5. For the Kings because they proved that they're okay with the roster that they have last season. Calgary Flames because they have some pretty good guys with Weegar and Huberdeau now. Vegas Golden Knights because they have all their guys back to full health and can actually play. And the Oilers because they're just that good. So, thank you for watching. Leave in the comments down below how terribly bad I am about this. Because I know I'm incorrect. Tell me all about it, please. So, until next time, pick up your free subscription down below by hitting that red subscribe button. Leave a like, not a dislike. You can go down low to the comments and leave the thing I just told you. And until next time, I have been the dapperly dressed Owen. Too sweet, and ta-ta for now.